I was taking a road trip in my Mustang from Texas to Arizona to visit my brothers. I usually keep emergency supplies in the trunk, such as water and tools. This time I opted for a scenic back route, enjoying high speeds with the top down and without worrying about other cars or police. The road was deserted, with one lane on either side, and nothing but desert sand, cacti, and shrubs as far as the eye could see. I was speeding down this road when my car began to emit concerning popping noises from under the hood, and it started to jolt slightly. I slammed on the brakes, bringing the car from a rapid 90 miles per hour to a sudden halt. I got out and popped the hood, pretending I knew what I was looking for or how to fix it. There was no smoke, but I had no idea what the problem could be. When I tried to restart the car, my fears were confirmed. It wouldn't start at all. My car was an '01 Ford Mustang, so it was an older model with its share of problems. Naturally, I tried to call my roadside service, but things took a turn for the worse when I realized I had no cell service out in the desert. I was effectively stranded. I hadn't seen another car in the entire hour I'd been on that road, and I dreaded how long it might take for someone to pass by. I waited on the side of the road, sitting on my car's trunk and sweating for hours. My spirits lifted when I saw the shine of headlights reflecting the sunlight in the distance. I jumped off the trunk and waved my arms for help, but the car zoomed past me. I couldn't believe someone could leave another person stranded like that. As night fell, hunger set in. With no cars passing since the first, I resorted to drinking the water bottles I had in my trunk. Eventually, I saw headlights approaching again. I turned on my hazard lights and waved my arms once more. A truck pulled over and a large man stepped out. I explained that my car had broken down and asked if he knew anything about cars, but he seemed more interested in asking me if I was alone, where I was going, and why I hadn't called for help. His questions made me uncomfortable. He finally offered me a ride, but his demeanor only heightened my unease. I climbed into his pickup truck, and he informed me it would be a long while before either of us would have phone service. He continued asking intrusive questions like why I chose to take a back route. A few minutes into the drive, the truck slowed down, and I heard him mutter, "Ah, shit." He pulled onto the sand beside the road, looked at me and said, "The piece of crap broke down." This couldn't be happening. I noticed he was still staring at me, and after a few seconds, he asked me to lift the hood while he cranked the latch. At this point, I felt an overwhelming sense of suspicion. I moved in front of his truck, keeping a safe distance, and waited for the click that would indicate the hood was unlatched. In my mind, I pictured him trying to run me over, and that's exactly what happened. As I took a step toward the truck to open the hood, I heard the roar of the engine. He slammed on the gas, and I dove for my life. If I had reacted just half a second later, I would have lost my legs or worse. I took off running into the pitch-black night, glancing back to see the taillights still there. Suddenly I heard gunshots, surely aimed at me. I thought I was going to die at any moment. It was too dark for him to shoot me accurately, but I didn't want to take any chances. I ran as far as I could and then dove to the ground, trying to make myself as small as possible. I heard the truck speeding away and turned to see its taillights slowly disappearing down the empty road. Eventually, I fell asleep on the side of the road. My nightmare didn't end until early morning when another pickup truck passed by. I waved them down, covered in dirt and sand, and thankfully, the driver and his wife were normal. They gave me water and drove me to the nearest town where I could call a towing company. It took 45 minutes to return to my car on that God-forsaken road, and then the same distance back to the shop. Long story short, this was the worst trip and experience of my life. Having someone try to run me over and then shoot at me isn't something you simply get over. There were woods near my parents' house that I loved to explore, I discovered a small circular clearing by a calming stream, with a big rock in the center where I would sit and read. I was a bit of a loner as a child. One day, like any other, I walked to the clearing, sat on the rock, and opened my book to my bookmark. It was approaching dusk, so the woods were getting darker. I was interrupted by footsteps behind me. Setting down my book, I moved into the trees to see if there was a deer or other animal nearby. As a child, I was always worried about black bears. I heard more footsteps and quietly followed the sound. But whatever it was moved faster than I could while trying to remain quiet. Eventually, the footsteps disappeared. Assuming the animal had wandered too far, I headed back to my clearing. As I emerged between the trees, my heart dropped. There was someone sitting on my rock, facing away from me, holding my book. Unsure whether to approach, I hesitated until the man said, "I don't like this book," and turned to me as if he knew exactly where I was hiding. He wore a strange smile that made me uncomfortable. At 13 years old, I didn't have a fight or flight response. I only had the instinct to run. The man took a step toward me and I bolted. I knew the way back to my house well and made it there in a few minutes. That night, a knock at my window startled me awake. Terrified, I screamed for my dad. He rushed in, and when I told him what happened, he went outside to check. I was horrified when he returned with my book, the one I had left in the woods. He said it had been left outside my window. I spent the next week sleeping in my parents' room and never returned to that clearing again.